Even my friends that didn't know what to say, my friends that were just there and held that space for me. Thank you. That's all I needed. What's the point in suffering if you don't use it as a survival guide? My name is Becca McCarthy. Welcome to Your Grief Bestie podcast, where we dive into all things grief, loss, trauma recovery, and the psychology behind it all. My goal is to spread awareness about grief and loss and help you start or continue your healing journey while holding your hand through it. I know that a lot of these episodes that I will be putting out might be a little bit triggering. I'm here with you, and I will be sure to put trigger warnings so that you're aware. Today, we're going to start off with an exercise that I found called box breathing, where you're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold that breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold that breath for 4 seconds. It's a super easy thing, little tool that I like to keep in my pocket, something I can do if I'm in public and I'm feeling panic or anxious. It's an easy exercise to do in public because people won't really know that you're doing it, but you're, regulating your nervous system in such an easy way. So this is just one of many exercises that I have for you guys, but I figured it would be a good thing to start off the episode and ground ourselves and really pull our mind into our body. And that's really what a grounding exercise means, right? It's pulling your brain into your body so that you are present and in the moment rather than being in the past, which is depression, or in the future, which is anxiety. So if you're in a safe space, let's begin. Please close your eyes and I will guide you for this breathwork session. Let's start by taking a deep inhale for 4 counts. And hold. Exhale for 4. And hold. And again, in for 4. Hold. Out for 4. And hold. Good work. It's a beautiful, warm, and as you can see, very sunny morning. Christmas morning, in fact, here in Arizona. I've been procrastinating this episode for so long, so I figured it's Christmas morning. I haven't been attacked by my grief yet. I am wearing PJs because that will be the dress code today, going to my sister's house and celebrating with my nieces and my sister, my dad, my brother-in-law, and his family. Missing my mom very much today, as always, but especially on Christmas morning because she was absolutely the magic. She gave us such a wonderful childhood. She was just so incredible. I wanted to, start my first episode off with telling my story and honoring my mother in doing so. So let's do this together. Let's talk about my grief journey. So I guess my first memory of losing someone was my grandma, my dad's mom, Beniti. She went by Grandma Betty. It's like a crane flying behind me. Grandma Betty, she loved Betty Boop. She loved pineapples. So like her whole apartment was like decorated with like little pineapple trinkets and owls. Those are 3 things. Owl trinkets, Betty Boop, everything, and little pineapples. I just remember being very close with her. She passed away when I was 7, I believe. And I remember my dad snuck me into the ICU because kids weren't allowed in there. Because I was like, I want to see her. I want to give her a hug, before because she was going out pretty much. And I bought her this big teddy bear and I named it Butterscotch. And I gave it to her and I got to see her and hug her. And then my dad, took me home, and then I woke up to my dad coming in my room crying. First time I ever saw him cry like that. And he had the butterscotch, the teddy bear in his hands. And he gave it to me. And I still have that there. It had like a red bow around its neck, and I lost that bow. I don't know where that went, but I still have butterscotch with me. So after that happened, um, my whole dad's side of the family lives on the East Coast. So I was born and raised in Virginia. And after my grandma passed, my dad's father passed away when I was a baby, so I never got to meet him, or I don't remember. So once that happened, both of my mom's parents were alive and they lived in Arizona. So we would go visit every now and then, but my mom thought it would be better for us to move to Arizona so that we could be with our grandparents that are still alive. So we ended up moving to Arizona when I was 10. I think I literally turned 10 the day after we arrived. And there's a lot of grief in that. There's a lot of grief in moving and uprooting your entire life at 9 years old. I had a few school crushes, lol. I think it was a great idea for us to move to Arizona because I got to become closer with my grandmother and my pop, my mom's mom and dad. My grandma Ellen, I feel like she had the artsy touch. You know, she went to fashion school in Paris at University de Sorbonne. Might be butchering that name. Actually, me and my dog Puppy went to go see it in Paris. We got to see her college, so that was really cool. But she liked to sew, so she would make us like pajamas every year, or she would like stitch things together. She stitched together gift bags, and this is a random memory, but I don't know why, but this made sense to me in my head. I don't know how old I was. I was a kid, but I referred to my mom's mom, Grandma Ellen, as the green grandma because she always like she wore this like kind of greenish, tealish color a lot. So I just remember her as the green grandma. And then my grandma Betty, I called her my white grandma, and they're both Caucasian. I don't. My grandma Betty had white hair, and I loved her white hair. So I don't know. Anyway, green grandma and white grandma. So my grandmother, Ellen, my mom's mom, got ovarian cancer when I want to say 14 or 15, somewhere between 14 and 16, and she passed away soon after. Um, and that was, yeah, it was pretty devastating. Like seeing my mom lose her mom was really hard, but I didn't know how to support her. I was there for her as best I could, but I could see that she was having a hard time. And obviously now I really understand losing your mom is really hard. Um, because when you lose someone, you don't just lose them once and that's it. Every memory, every special moment that they're not there to witness and experience is triggering and painful and sad. And, you know, I've come to learn and know and accept that grief is forever. It doesn't just go away. A little hummingbird. Doesn't just go away. But the grief is the price of love, right? So how lucky am I to have experienced such love? I'm grieving this hard for so many people. I went to Arizona State University, and that's where I met my sweetest little angel, Kaylee from Austin, Texas, and her whole group of friends, and got to meet her family as well, of course. So she unfortunately passed away a week before we graduated. So that really brought that whole friend group together. We all just share this bond of loss and grief and shock and experiencing losing someone that young. She was 20, 21. We were all, the same age. I think that in in a way prepared me for my mother's death, but honestly nothing can prepare you. Nothing. Even anticipatory grief, you can only go so far with it because you don't know what it's like until you properly like lose someone. And I think that's also like a really difficult thing in general about grief is that like you cannot even conceptualize how painful and difficult it is until you go through it. And I don't want anyone to go through it. You don't know, and you say something that is offensive or painful to me about my mother's death, or I'm grateful for you. Like, I'm happy for you. I'm so glad you have no idea what it's like, because it is terrible. It's fucking awful. Missing someone and knowing that you'll never see them again on this earth. But I believe that when we die, we are reconnected with everybody that we lived on this earth with. So I look forward to seeing all of my beloved past people again. My senior year of college, my mom was diagnosed with estrogen negative breast cancer. And I just remember going to a lot of chemo appointments with her and just keeping it strong, keeping it together, sitting with her, being, just trying to be a light for all those people in there. There were so many people in there just hooked up to chemo, alone, with nobody with them. So I made sure, as much as I could, I was there with my mom. I tried to talk to and get to know some of the other people to show them some support, because it was just a really sad place to be. And I didn't want them to feel any worse than they already did. So, yeah, I just remember after the chemo appointment, I would wait till my mom got in her car and drive away, and then I would lose it. Get in my car and lose it, because I hated seeing her suffer like that. Seeing her lose all of her hair. Just still smile and put on a brave face for me and my family and everyone around her. No matter how much she was suffering, she was a light. Hey, she was just a light, shining light. Oh man, I knew I was gonna cry, but I didn't realize I was gonna cry this much. I shouldn't have done my makeup. Oh well. Yeah, so she beat that cancer. I was so proud of her. But unfortunately, a couple years later, it came back as a very aggressive form of estrogen positive metastatic breast cancer that caused liquid to fill up around both lungs, that she had to have bags to drain them all day. When my family told me, it was Christmas of 2014, I think, they told us that she had terminal cancer, metastatic cancer, and that this might be her last Christmas. I was so pissed off, bro. Like, I thought that everyone was just being negative. I was in so much denial. I was like, if we just believe, if we just. I didn't believe it was true at all. I was just like, why are you guys being so negative? Like, I don't know if I said that out loud, but that was in my head. And I had plans to move to New York to further pursue my modeling career. And I still feel so selfish about that, because I really didn't think she was going to die. I really didn't. But I don't know why. I was just in such denial. I was like, she beat it twice, she can beat it again. I forgot to mention that my mom also, when she was in her early 20s, had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a pretty rare form of cancer. And they gave her full body radiation, because it was like in the 80s, and that's what they did. And unfortunately, I think that might have caused her breast cancer to form, which is a story for a lot of people. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do a whole episode on guilt and shame, because it's so tied into grief. Like, it would just take me a long time to talk about it. So I think we're gonna dive into that in another episode. But yeah, I feel incredibly guilty for not just, moving in and being with her for the last 6 months. I was in full denial. I think my dad was in a bit of denial as well. We were all just trying to pray for her. And because she had this liquid building around her lungs, she couldn't talk very well. She couldn't breathe very well. She couldn't like walk. So we would wheel her to the bathroom in a wheelchair. We ended up doing hospice at home with a hospital bed in the living room, and I slept next to her. Just it was really hard, and the triggers of like seeing someone be that ill and just get worse every day is it's traumatic. I would say I still I've worked through therapy, I've processed it, I've gone through all the triggers. June 2025 will be 10 years that my mom has passed away. But, I'm really grateful that my immediate family she was surrounded by her immediate family when she passed. My brother was laying on one side of the bed with her, and I was laying on the other with our heads on her shoulder. And then I noticed that she wasn't breathing anymore. I looked at my sister, who's a doctor, and she just nodded. And my brother screamed. It was horrible. And I just knew, or I felt this responsibility to just keep a brave face. My brother's not okay. He's freaking out. I'm freaking out inside, but I'm like, I have to just compose myself, right? And yeah, we went through all of the motions, all of that. And I think the most difficult part of grief in the beginning is going to bed and waking up and realizing that it's real. It's not a dream. That was the hardest part for me, I think, like in the beginning. That's just realizing that it's real. She's really gone. And she always will be. So, yeah, I was 24 when she died. And it really rocked me. It really shook me. I moved up to Oregon, of course. Once I realized how bad it was, I moved in and cared for her before she passed. And then I stayed in Oregon with my dad and my brother for a bit. I can't remember how long, maybe a few months. But I spent that next Christmas with a friend of mine and her family. Like I had Christmas uh, day with my family, but then I flew to Georgia and spent it. And I find that for a few years that was good for me. It was good for me to, be with other families because it was just too much to face. My dad has had a really hard time because they were married for 30 years, almost 30 years. They got married when my mom was 18 and my dad was 24. Wait, 23. I think they were 5 years apart. So, yeah, it was really hard on him. It was hard on all of us, of course, but um, I think it was really hard for him to keep Christmas going, especially considering we had, kind of a jarring Christmas before she passed. But um, yeah. And then a few years after that, my one of our best friends, part of our friend group, Jamie, who was close with Kaylee as well, passed away. And that was also a shock because he was so young. I think we were like 26. And that was really hard, of course, just losing young friends. It doesn't get any easier, to keep losing people. But um, then soon after that, I think maybe in the same year or the year after, my grandfather died, my mom's dad, pop up. And he lived a pretty long life. I think he was 69 when he passed. I don't think he turned 70. I think he was 69. And, you know, since then, I've done my best to process my grief. go to therapy, surround myself with the right people. I wouldn't say that I did that very quickly. I now have been very picky with who I surround myself with because, yeah, I think it's so important. It impacts you. You become most like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So it's very important to be selective, especially when you're going through traumatic, processing trauma, dealing with, difficult emotions. It's very important to have people that are understanding and hold a space for you around you. I'm so grateful for my people that I've become reconnected with, close with this year, because grief really shows you who gives a fuck about you and who, I don't want to say it like that. Grief really shows you who is truly there for you and will be there for you no matter what. People have shocked me. People that I don't really talk to have been there more for me than people that I went to elementary school with. And that is, people on social media have been there for me more than some of my friends and family members, for that matter. Like, it's amazing. It really amazes you. Grief shows you, like, conflict and hard times show you who truly gives a fuck about you and who is willing to, be uncomfortable to be there with you and have that conversation with you. Even my friends that didn't know what to say, my friends that were just there and held that space for me, thank you. That's all I needed. It was just someone to not push me away when I was pushing them away. Grief is complex. And I actually was diagnosed with PTSD quite recently. I think from, seeing my mom deteriorate like that, seeing her ashes, what happened with Kaylee, because I saw her in the hospital before they took her off life support. Um, and yeah, I want to get into this later because it's just a whole other topic, but I started EMDR therapy this year and it completely changed my life. It made everything, like, I actually was able to process a memory and now it doesn't bring up, like, yeah, I don't like the memory, but it doesn't make me break down when I think about it. So that's incredible. We will definitely be diving into EMDR, and the psychology and the science behind it. But yeah, so what inspired me to start this podcast this year was my soul dog, Puppy. She lived 11 wonderful years, and she got me through my darkest days. When people betrayed me, when my mom died, when Kaylee died, when Jamie died, when my grandfather died, she was always there. And when I was grieving my mother, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideation. Nothing that I ever felt I was going to act upon, nor did I ever try, but I didn't want to be here anymore without my mom. But you know who kept me here? Puppy, my dog, my soul dog. She is the reason I'm still here. I can say that with all of my chest. If I didn't have her, I'm not sure that I would be here today, to be honest with you. She got me through. She would always come and lay on my heart when I was having a hard time. Like, she would just come and rest her chin there. She would lick the tears off my face anytime I was crying. She'd step on me. So over time, like, of course, it was quite easy to get your dog registered as an emotional support animal in the beginning, like probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And then people started abusing it. So I ended up getting her trained as a service animal for psychiatric support as I was diagnosed with PTSD, and she helped me during my panic attacks. I started to have panic attacks after my mom died. I don't think I ever had one before that. The first time was when I saw her ashes. I just collapsed on the ground, couldn't breathe. I started this podcast because when Puppy died, last May, I was trying to find a podcast to listen to, and I couldn't find something that really resonated for me. So I decided, why don't I create that? And at the very least, this is cathartic for me. I can talk about my story, let it all out, put it on the internet, and forget about it. But since I've started my social media accounts to kind of just get everything flowing before I filmed my episodes, I've realized that there's a need out there for someone to talk about grief. I know there's plenty of amazing podcasts out there. There's a lot of people already talking about grief, but I want to do it my way. And I want to be real, raw, open, honest with you. I would love to answer any questions that anyone has. I would love to go over any topics that anyone has a request for. I studied psychology at Arizona State University. I got my bachelor's degree and graduated in 2013. So I'm deeply interested in psychology, the brain, mental health, all of that. So I would love to chat with you about anything science, psychology based, the science behind grief. But if there are any specific topics that you would like me to cover, please throw me a message, throw me a comment, and I would love to go over it for you. All right. Well, that's my story. My quote today is, count your blessings in dog years. A little cheesy, but I thought it'd be a cute little touch. Thank you so much for tuning in, besties. Until next time, love you. I want you to know that you're not alone in your grief, and the only way out is through. Let us hold space for one another.